Good morning, YTPC. How are we all doing? Warwickshire Piper here. Cold, wet and dreary morning in the Shire. So I thought I would do my review of the late review, which I apologise for, of Charatan Flake, or the Dunhill Flake replacement, as people are calling it. Some housekeeping. I'm not actually smoking that this morning. I'm smoking some Lane 1Q in my new Savinelli Melee, which arrived yesterday, which is a belated Valentine's gift from my lovely girlfriend. Okay, so basically Charatan blends have recently been launched to replace the Dunhill blends that were discontinued last year. And recently at a Pipe Club of London meeting, I was fortunate enough to try not all but most of the Charatan blends, and the Flake was one of them. Now February's blend club choice. So I'm probably going to be the last one to review it before we move on to March's reviews. And a lot of what I wanted to say about it has already been said, but I'll give you my own experiences of it. As I say, I first tried it at Pipe Club of London meet, where we had been given samples by Tour Imports, the company that are responsible for distributing it. And I'd not tried the Dunhill Flake previously, actually, so this was quite interesting for me, because I was going in completely fresh. I have actually managed to find a tin of Dunhill Flake that I haven't opened yet, so I might do a comparison at some point in the future. Don't buy Colibri lighters, they're crap. I just filled that this morning, and it's not that's working now, but it's got a mind of its own. It really has. First impressions, when I actually weren't good, to be honest. I felt that it was a very bland, wishy-washy blend, a touch bitter, a little bit acidic, very, very green. I thought even I felt that the colour was ever so slightly green. It didn't set me on fire at all. I tried 2 bowls of it, so that was the first impressions really. But the thing is, I think when you actually try a blend for the first time like that, and you're trying lots of other blends. I mean, I've been smoking Latakia blends quite heavily from the previous week, and then you go straight into a Virginia. I don't think it's fair on the tobacco, and although my first impressions weren't favourable, when I opened the tin at home, I thought, right, I'm going to give this a fair crack of the whip. So I started the day with a Mere. I smoked it solidly for the whole day and for the next day as well in the same pipe. So it gave me a good indicator of what it was actually like. And the more I smoked it, the more it actually grew on me. To be honest, I still think it is quite green, and it's quite fresh. But all of the Charatan blends that we're currently smoking were packed in November and December of 2018, so it's had no tin time. The blends haven't had time to mature and marry into the tins. I think if we revisited it again 6 months down the road when it's had some tin time, I think we would be pleasantly surprised. I think to echo other people's reviews, it's not an unpleasant blend. I think that it's okay. I would buy it again. I actually quite liked it. Towards the end of the second day, I did actually quite like it. It burns I've actually got the tin in the car. I haven't got it with me, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would show you the quality of the flake itself. It's a very nice quality flake. It's a lovely colour. It smells fantastic. There is, I feel, and to echo Toking Tommy on this, I do feel there's a very, very slight fruity topping to it that I can't put my finger on exactly, and that's evident from the tin note, and also from smoking it as well. It's very faint, but it is there. It's not unpleasant. Very, very mild on the nick front. Burns incredibly well. I found that I smoked some fold and stuff, and some rubbed out, and it very much liked the fold and stuff method of packing your pipe. So yeah, I enjoyed it really. It's like I say, you should never judge a book by its cover, and I think this was, and I'm glad I persevered, because after the first experiences at the Peacock meet, to be honest, I wasn't bothered whether I ever tried it again. But I knew that I'd got the review to do, and I wanted to give it a fair crack of the whip. I wanted my palate to be clean, and I wanted to use a Mere pipe. It was actually a new Alternate Mere, which I will show you. I've got it here somewhere. I did a trade with Smoking Chunker 57 on this lovely alternate, light as a feather, great little smoker, and that is what I used for the review on the Flake. Just as I'm flying off on a tangent slightly, the original Dunhill blends, most of them left me quite cold anyway. There were only about 3 or 4 blends that I actually liked, and only one, which was standard mixture, that actually gave me the what I call the wow factor. Most of the Charatan replacements, I don't like calling them replacements really, because they're completely different blends in their own right, and I don't think it's fair, especially at this early stage, for us to call them outright replacements, although people will look at them as that. The majority of them were I felt quite poor, but they hadn't been blended with specific recipes. they'd been blended by blind taste testing, which is always going to be hit and miss, and you know, because obviously everybody's tastes and palates are different. I've heard good things about the rolls, the Charatan rolls, and also the Lizzie Mix replacement, whose Charatan name escapes me. However, I didn't like that. I thought that was very, I found that to be quite bland. Again, this is probably because it's still very fresh. The only blend that I did actually take to that I thought was quite nice was the number 10, the Charatan number 10, which is supposed to replace the Dunhill London mixture. And that to me was the only one that I tried that had got actually any sort of nicotine content to it at all. The Eventide, which is the nightcap replacement, I felt was very poor, very thin on the ground with the latakia. Anybody knows nightcap knows it's a bit of a lap bomb. It's very heavy in the latakia, whereas I certainly didn't feel that that Eventide had anywhere near the latakia content that nightcap did. In fact, I wouldn't even put it close to early morning pipe, to be honest, which again was another one that I tried that I felt was you could hardly tell the difference between that and an Eventide. Again, quite poor really, and quite nondescript. But again, that fits my view of the Dunhill, the original Dunhill blends that I'd tried. However, nightcap was one of my favourites. Standard mixture, which was the only Dunhill blend actually that gave me the wow factor, is now called I think it's Enzyme or Royal Enzyme or Enzyme mixture or something like that. So I was really keen to try that. Wasn't unpleasant by any stretch of the imagination, but nothing like standard mixture. Completely different. Would I buy it? No, I probably wouldn't. On first impressions. But going back to the Charatan Flake, I think it's certainly one to seller, because it is although being very new and very green, it is a grower. It is a nice blend actually, and I could see me perhaps buying a pack of 5 and just putting them in the deep cellar and leaving them there. But I certainly shall revisit it once the original tin. I've got it in a jar at the moment. Well, I'll put some of it in a jar, the rest is in the car. So it'll be interesting to see what it's like in a couple of months' time. I don't normally do marks out of 10, but I would say I'm going to give it, at the moment, I'm going to give it maybe 5.5 to 6 out of 10. But I could see that certainly, as it matures, I could certainly see that getting quite a bit higher. So that's it, guys. I'm not being. I've probably been a bit harsh and critical of the Charatan blends, but that's just how I find it. They're not unpleasant. They're just not my cup of tea. I just find them a bit, you know, and a bit nondescript, to be honest. The Dunhill tins that we were buying towards the back end of last year were packed in 2016, 2017, so they had time to mature, whereas the Charatan blends haven't, and I think that is possibly the main issue with them, I think. But that's just my personal take on it. Okay, guys, have a great Sunday. I just want to do a very quick shout out to my crazy work colleagues in the office who have discovered my channel. and I've had an awful lot of stick the past week or two. They seem to find it hilarious. So I've got a YouTube channel on pipe smoking. This is a shout out to Kat, who is probably the most gracious one of my colleagues, and actually does take a little bit of interest in what I put out there. And she, I think she's actually quite interested in what I do. Certainly my pipes and tobacco. I might even get at some point in the future to try one. Yeah, so it's a shout out to all of my work colleagues. I shall no doubt get some stick tomorrow morning. Okay guys, have a great Sunday, and stay warm, stay dry, and have a great day. Cheers guys, I'll be back.